Hello, good morning everyone, and welcome back for another stream. It is 10 a.m. on the 10th of March. I definitely worked that all out in advance. And it's definitely not a coincidence. Hello, welcome back. It's the morning. I've been up since 8 a.m. I don't really know what's going on. This morning thing is strange. Also, I seem to be managing it fine, so that's almost more shocking than the fact that I'm up in a morning to start with. But hello, welcome back. I would normally at this point give you an update on what's happened in the past few days, but I've not been doing anything because I took Monday and Tuesday off. So what's been happening is that I've had quite a nice time, and I've been trying to, learn what my body is saying to me, and looking after myself and other sorts of strange newfangled things. I managed to do some gardening. The first time it was a little bit difficult because I had a really bad reaction, which you might have, if you are like one of the two people that follows my blog, you might have seen. Basically I went and pruned the rose bushes. We have 3 rose bushes. One of them's young, so doesn't need pruning, but 2 of them do because they're fully mature. And so I went and did that. It took me 5 minutes. It was all done with tools, so it wasn't like I was, yanking things out of the ground or like anything like that. But I got really bad pain all the way up my arms, and my hands were shaking, which is not abnormal. My hands constantly shake, but like really shaking. And whenever I tried to do certain things, my hands would have an involuntary sort of jerk. Like if I was trying to use my computer mouse, I would go to press the button and I'd jerk the mouse to the side instead, which was, hello Chewinga. That was particularly unsettling. Oh, actually no, I don't want it on vibrate because that's just going to make even more noise. Okay. But it faded after a while. I got dizzy as well, so I just went to bed, had a nap, and I was fine afterwards. Yesterday I went out and faced the garden again because the garden will not conquer me. And I do like gardening. It's just really hard because even just being knelt down for that long is hard. But I managed to weed some of my flower bed, quite a bit actually, much more than I expected to, like almost a metre long of my flower bed. So that was really good. I was in a lot of pain afterwards, but I didn't have any of that sort of involuntary movement, which was nice. And yeah, so I was good and sort of I'd planned to do the hoovering as well, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do that as well. I'm just going to leave it at this and be sensible. So yeah, so that sort of thing, and doing laundry and playing games. I finished Pillars of Eternity 1. I started Pillars of Eternity 2. These are replays. I've worked out I now have like 500 hours total in Pillars of Eternity across both games. But what's particularly impressive is that, so I've played The Sims since I was a child. I have really fond memories of my friend Heather and I playing, it's gotta be The Sims 2, because it wasn't the first one, but I don't think it was 3, although 3, maybe it was 3. Anyway, we played a lot of The Sims, and I have played The Sims ever since, and I am about to hit played hours in The Sims 4 1,000. 1,000 hours. That means I'm 10% of the way to mastering playing The Sims. This is not what we're here to talk about. We're here to do a PhD. But it's a PhD in video games, just not video games like The Sims. Although, interestingly, I do think there's an element of mental illness in The Sims with some of the traits you can give your Sims. But that's beside the point. And I've got feelings about how they work, but that's a discussion for another day. So yeah, I've not done anything studying wise. I went to my reading group on Monday, which was great. I tried to fully read the other article in the day before, but I was so fully in holiday mode that I honestly just skimmed it. But I got enough out of it that I got stuff in the discussion as well. And it was just 3 of us, so it was a really nice, I quite like the quieter weeks. It's weird because there's a sweet point with my anxiety where it's not too many people, but I don't feel pressure to be talking all the time. But actually with 3 people, I found that I had a lot less of the anxiety about, oh God, am I talking too much? Because there were only 3 of us there, so I had to talk quite a lot. And that was, we had a really nice discussion talking about sort of the, because there was the article that we looked at about ecology in the medical humanities, and then there was another article about space and place in a couple of things, so we had some fun discussions about that. That's something I need to do. I need to email I'm going to write this down. I'm going to email my supervisor, because she asked if we had any suggestions for things to read, and because I've got that massive long reading list, I'm absolutely going to, and she does this as well. There's been multiple times where we've come in and she goes, yeah, we're reading this because it was on my to read list, and no one had suggested anything, so I'm gonna put in, we've done something I suggested before, so I'm gonna put a couple of suggestions in and see if, I think I've got a few that would be interesting to a lot of people, so in my general medical humanities list of things to read, so I'll send her some suggestions, because I've got to email her anyway to send her my research and development plan form that I did a few weeks ago, but I assumed would automatically get sent to her, and it doesn't, so I've got to send her that. That's one of the things I'll do later on. Other than that, was that me? I'm sorry if that was me. Oh, it's I'll disconnect this keyboard. It's complaining that the little keyboard doesn't have much power left, which is how it got through, because it's an alarm. Yeah, so the only other thing I've done thus far is this morning I opened my emails, because I hadn't done that since Friday. So first of all, I've signed up to go to a lecture later today on the use of language in graphic novels, which I'm super excited about. It's with the linguistics department, so it'll be really, I'm a little bit scared that I won't have all of the technical knowledge needed to understand what they're saying, but hopefully it'll be fine. That does mean I'm going to be studying for a bit longer than I intended today. I'll come on to that in a minute, but that's fine. It's going to be really useful to me. So there is that, and then also there is another email that I need to reply to, but I'm going to have to work myself up to replying to. So, funnily enough, speaking of that research and development plan, I have talked about one of the things I want to do being presented at a conference, but that I thought that I'd like the stepping stone of presenting within my university or within my school or my department first. And that opportunity has come up from an email. So we have an English webinar research series, which is just a guest lecture series basically in the School of English. And in April, they're doing a first year PhD showcase. And it's a 10-minute presentation, and it's within the school. And we can either go into particular questions or present the arc of our research project, and just showcase what we're doing. And I think I'm gonna volunteer. It's on the 7th of April, which is only a month away. But as we know, I think that the stuff that I've written already, is basically a presentation, so it would just be like working that out and timing that and making sure it works. So I think I'm gonna do it because this is exactly the opportunity I was looking for, and I'm already fucking terrified. But I think I'm gonna give it a go. So yeah, that's another email I have to send later, but I'm gonna give myself some time to let that sink in before I go and do that. But yeah, so the plan, not just for today, but for the whole week. Also, the lighting on my face is changing anytime I open something that's really white. It's changing because I've tried something new. I'm trying to bounce the light off my walls, partly to make it softer, but also so it's not glaringly in my eyes the whole time. So we're seeing how that goes. So I'm trying something this week, and I'm going to try it for a couple of weeks. We'd sort of talked about how I was having trouble keeping to a schedule, but I was also having trouble not having a schedule. And because one of the things we need to do today is work out like what I want to achieve each week, X hours of reading, X hours of writing up, that sort of thing. I have to work out some kind of schedule, otherwise this isn't going to... Just a second. I'm just turning the microphone down a bit because I think it's peaking. I'm sorry if it's been a bit garbled. Maybe I'm just talking really loudly. But yeah, so I've got to set some kind of hours on it. So what I've done is I've put in 10 to 4 Wednesday to Friday. Now obviously I do things on other days, because my reading group is always on a Monday. There are other lectures and things that turn up at other times, but these are effectively, I'm thinking of these as my core hours, like people who flexi time and have core hours that they have to work and then do whatever around it. So that's it's 5 hours a day for 3 days a week, because there would be a lunch break in there each day, which I'm gonna make sure I take. And that then gives us a basis to work out what I want the breakdown of those 15 hours to be. For the most part, I will be doing admin stuff outside of those hours, so things like emails, RDP stuff I need to do, write-ups for my supervisions, all of that sort of thing. And I think I have to do that separately because I can't calculate how many hours that's going to be a week. This just makes it easier. So, and if I bring us over to here, oh, I didn't actually put it in as a thing. Good work, me. Well, I'll leave this on here anyway because we're oh, actually no, it's in here. This is effectively what we're doing. Is this? Is what the fuck are we doing and in what order? So we've got 15 hours. Also, just give me just 1 second. I just need to. Actually, I'm just going to turn it down entirely. But I'm also going to turn it down a bit in my headphones. Cool, there we go. So we've got 15 hours. 4 hours of streaming. We know 4 of those hours are going to be streamed. At the moment, I may up that in the future, but we'll see how it goes. The main difficulty actually is having days where I can guarantee that I'm always free at those times. This is one of the reasons I'm trying 10 to 12, is that generally stuff doesn't get scheduled in the morning, but I'm having a lot of stuff that's turning up at like 1, 2, 3 times that would clash. So actually I won't list that because that will confuse me because that's within the 15 hours. It's not like streaming isn't a thing unto itself. I need stuff to do on the stream. And speaking of which, I know that one of the things I need to do is start going through primary sources. Primary sources for video games means playing video games. I want to limit this because otherwise I will just spend all 15 hours playing games. Obviously, this would be wonderful, but not really for my productivity. So my current plan, I don't know if this is going to be enough, but I'm going to start here and we're going to like just see how that goes. I'm going to start with 2 hours of gaming, and that will be every Friday stream. So we're going to be playing games on Friday. And that's very exciting. Actual games on a Twitch stream. What is this? So yeah, we're gonna start with Hellblade because it's the one that's most been recommended, and then we'll go from there. I've got a list, and I'm gonna start pushing my my suggestions form to more people. So that's 2 of those hours. Now let's think about other things that I want to include in here. Obviously, reading is probably the biggest one, but I also want to make sure I have time for writing as well, because I'm going to want to start turning all of those thoughts into words pretty much straight away. But I probably don't want, I think over time the ratio of reading to writing is going to shift. So I think we're going to have a very high ratio of reading right now, and probably just 1 hour a week of writing. And then as I get further into the research, it's going to go more the other way. Now, also, it's important to say as well, anything that I'm planning like this, it is subject to some variability. If, for example, I get 2 weeks in and realise that I've got this whole bunch of ideas that I want to write up, and it's going to take me more than an hour, like I get an hour in and realise I need longer, that's fine, I can keep writing. This is not a really strict thing to which I must hold myself, other than the core hours, because I think it's important for me to keep those, both for making sure I'm doing enough work and also making sure I'm not doing too much work, or being able to tell myself I'm doing enough work. That's another important thing as well. So this is something that will shift and change over time. It's gonna change a lot. The question is whether there's anything else other than looking at primary sources, reading, and writing. And writing kind of also includes like going over my ideas and processing my ideas and things like that. So I wonder if it's worth putting that up to 2 hours and then just using the rest on reading. Or do we accept that we get a neat 12 hours of reading a week now? Because I can't think of anything else right now that I need to be doing. And I'm going to put reading / research, because obviously there is an element of time spent finding the things I need to read that I'm including within that. Because again, that's a thing that's not super measurable. And the whole point of this is to be vaguish. So we want about the breakdown to be about this, I think. So then the next question is, where do I want to start in terms of all of these things? Now, so we know that the 2 hours of gaming is going to be on a Friday morning. I also know that I tend to be a bit more tired on Friday afternoons, So I actually don't know that writing then is the... Actually, no. I think reading probably takes me more effort than writing. I was going to say, do I put... I don't need to schedule it. No, it's fine. I can work out what I want to do based on each day. And this also means that the thing that I would take hours from is reading, which is probably the best way round. So I think we're good there. So the question is, with my... I can think of a couple of different ways to start my literature review. Which is to say, what am I going to read? If I take us over to here, no, not to the emoji list, to the actual thing. So you can see, I know I'm covering some of the titles, that I've got a list of things related to video games already. Now, obviously, I could just start reading through these. Some of them are more directly related. So, for example, some, the one on portrayals of mental illness and reducing mental health stigma, they're the two that I cited already in my initial write-up, and this one as well. So they're obviously really good ones. So I could start from those and branch off. I could just do everything I've got here. Something I'm also thinking about is I want, one of the things I know I need to do as part of the thesis is explain the history of video games and the history of mental illness within video games. So that is another like entry point. It's almost like I'm doing multiple literature reviews looking for different things. And that's something we're going to think about as well when I come on to the other thing we're doing today, which is the research questions, and getting those sorted out. I also have the thing to consider of I can read some stuff on stream and some I can't. Some of these are books that aren't necessarily super available to me, or I'll have to get sourced or that sort of thing. Yeah, so I think probably what I'm going to do, I think a load of these cover the history of video games anyway. So I think what I'm going to do is start with what I've got here and branch out from them. I'm going to go through probably the ones that I'll save the ones that I know are definitely related, because I know they're definitely related, right? And I'm going to start with like the other ones. So if I scroll so you can see, so I've got like the Routledge Companion to Video Game Studies, which will give me a good overview of the field as a whole. There's some more general things on like the role and importance of video games and culture, that sort of thing. They're going to be really good like introductions. They're also going to be things that are heftier. Like Routledge Companions are massive books that contain loads of essays, so it's going to be both satisfying and also a lot in order to go through those. So I think that's where I'm going to start, is just doing that and making sure, I think when we're putting the research questions together, I want to make sure that that they work for all things that I'm looking for. So maybe let's go back in here. Oh, no. I don't know what's happening today. This is my brain that I've effectively just come back off holiday, so this is my post-holiday brain. What was I about to say? Oh yeah, I was gonna write down things we're looking for. So I want history of video games, general, history of video games, mental health. Sorry, you can hear my beautiful mechanical keyboard. Hopefully it's not too bad. Yeah, history of video games, mental health and illness. Oh, Oh yeah, I always forget that slashes, wherever you put them in a sentence, do things in Notion. What else is there that I want to look for thematically? Okay, so I know that virtual gaming is something I want to look at, that I know I don't have any sources for that right now. There's a VR version of Hellblade as well, by the way. So it would be really... I'm going to have to get access to a VR system that you can... because I want to contrast the two. And I want to see whether it's more immersive to play in one versus the other, because I think from a technology standpoint, that's super interesting for having a game that is on both and specifically is about conveying the experience of mental illness. It's just so perfect. This is such a perfect game for my thesis. Thanks Ninja Theory. Yeah, so there's the question of virtual gaming. I thought of something else there, and then I got excited and it went out of my brain. Oh yeah, like sort of the techniques that video games use to be immersive, like in a sort of technical sense, how it works, kind of thing. So sort of technical immersivity, and then technological immersivity. So the difference there is the technical one is like the in-game mechanics of how things work. The technological one is me using a mouse and keyboard to interface with things versus people using controllers to interface with things, people using accessible setups to interface with things, and how all of those like affect the immersiveness of the experience. Music, I know that I love video game music. If we could just listen to video game music in the background on the stream forever and always, I'd be so happy. I'd be so happy. We can't because DMCA. But it would really please me. I love video game music. It's why I listen to most of the time. My Spotify roundup last year came back and was like, yeah, you listen to Taylor Swift and the Dragon Age soundtracks. Neither of which we can listen to on stream. And I know that music, being more serious for a moment, I know that music has a really strong effect on immersiveness and on the emotional impact of games. And it's really interesting because music often is present in games as something that isn't diegetic, which is to say your character is not hearing the music, but you are. So that's really interesting because you'd think it would bring us out of the immersive experience because it's breaking the, it's sort of like straddling the fourth wall rather than breaking it. But it doesn't do that. It can have the opposite effect. And I think that is, I want to look into that and how that works and why. And then other things I'm thinking of are like the writing process and the intention behind games. And the presence of mentally ill people in writers' rooms. Because that's one of the things I'm requiring. Then this is another thing to think about is small teams versus AAA teams. AAA is a term specific to video games. It basically means big company game, like a huge Blizzard made this, Activision made this, BioWare made this, Bethesda made this, that sort of level. Nintendo made this. Versus the 5 people who made Valheim, and now they've had 5 million sales. So that's like a million sales per person on their team. And the smaller, my assumption is that the smaller a team you have, the easier it is to get across an embodied experience, assuming that the majority of that team have had that embodied experience. Because otherwise you've got to do what Ninja Theory did, which is constantly get feedback from people who work in psychiatry who have experienced the illness, in that case psychosis. So it's really interesting, and I think it'll be interesting to talk about how the limitations that each of those bring have been avoided, because obviously there's limitations to both, right? Like a small team realistically isn't going to be able to put out, they're going to have limitations on quality, right? For example, if they wanted their game to be fully voice acted, that may not be possible if they're a small team with a small budget, because voice acting costs money. Or they'll be doing the voice acting themselves, so it might not be as higher quality as it could have been. No offense to the people who voice out their own games, but you know, if you're not a professional voice actor, you're not going to be as experienced or skilled. So there are limitations that way around as well. There are benefits to being a AAA game, which is the names you can pull in and the money you can spend and things like that. And those things may have an impact on that immersivity that we talked about before. So I think that's an important thing to include as well. This is really fun. I like my PhD. I'm such a fucking nerd. Oh, it's amazing. Okay, so I think they're the main ones I can think of for now. And we might think of more as we go, but we'll see. Yeah. So the thing we then want to go to, which is kind of related but also not, is what my research questions are. I actually think that these are written up pretty well already, but I think we've probably thought of more. And interestingly, so I think, are these forms better at communicating the embodied experience of mental illness, is the overarching question that effectively gets answered last. I don't think I'm going to come in and go, yes, video games is better. Because I can't do that. I need the information first. So it's almost like starting from the bottom down and working up to that question. I'm just going to reorder these a bit because I kind of want this one last. I'm doing terribly at because that's almost a follow-up, isn't it? What impact can they have? That's like that's a thing to include once I've done everything else. But it's a thing that I still want to think about. In terms of the purpose of this, what I'm putting together. Hold on. Did I just lose sound in my head? I did just lose sound in my headphones. There. So the purpose of writing these questions down is when I am reading, I want to be constantly thinking about these questions. So it's a reference sheet to which I can refer either like very directly, like sitting there with it open, or to sort of go back to when I'm then thinking about what I've read. And I think I'll do this to an extent anyway, naturally, just because I know what I'm looking for. But I also think it's good to have it written down. So the question is whether anything is missing from here. So I'm just thinking in terms of what we just put down for video games. I want, what is the history of this form's relationship with mental illness? And then I'll put an indent of, has this relationship always been positive? Is it positive now? Or are positive representations rare? Then I want to put down here, how accessible. I know I've already got accessibility under superior communication, but I want to put, what are the barriers to creating in this form? And what, I always want to, yeah, make it a separate question entirely. And what impact has it had? And then I'm going to remove it from there, because I think it's a big enough question. It needs to be on its own. I think that's probably, I don't know. I think I'm going to think of more as I go along. I think that's going to happen. Realistically. Let's just double check the stuff I just put on here. Yeah, because that a lot of this falls under how are they doing it, and those are going to be specific to the form, right? Like, I'm not going to be thinking about what impact music has when I come to fan fiction, although I might do, actually, because a lot of fan fiction authors include soundtracks to their fanfics. But yeah, I'm not going to have the same questions for every form, so we'll see. Yeah, I think that might be it. I think that is it. Well, certainly for now. So this means we're gonna actually start some research today. That's fine. The thing is, I kind of want, actually, you know, okay, so you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to now copy this to here, and then I'm going to put that as done. And then I will put that under research, take it off planning, and I'm going to leave it in there like in perpetuity, because I want it there and accessible. I don't want it in a separate thing, because I wanna think about it together. And yeah, I think that's it. I've sort of thought about putting the next big to do in here. I could do that. I don't know if it's worth it though, it's months away. Maybe I'll put I'll put interactive and visual. I can spell. I can so interactive and visual novels deep dive, that is a research tag, and it will be from that went to June the 10th, so it will be from, why did I make it a Thursday? Why did I make it end on a Thursday? Why did I do that? Oh, because I did 3 months from, okay, yeah, I'll put that today. And then that one will then start on June the 14th, and it will end on 1, 2, 3 September. My God. There we go. And I'm just gonna, oh, no. I do this a lot with Notion. There we go. So what was I about to say? Oh yeah, I was just going to say that obviously my review is in November, not September, but remember we've got that extra time in for illness, holiday, stuff like that. So whilst I put these dates in, they're subject to change, and that's totally okay. As you've seen today, I've managed to do something faster than I expected. So it swings and roundabouts, right? Some things are going to go faster, some things are going to go slower, and that's another reason to have things be quite balanced and stuff. So I guess what we need to do now... Oh, come on, you can load. What we need to do now is find something that I'm able to read on stream, and that's how we'll pick what I'm going to read today. That says open science, so maybe... Is this just opening the whole thing? I think it might be. Open link. Details. Published online. Unrestricted use provided the original author and source are credited. Fantastic. I'll have a PDF of that, please. So this is... I think this is a good one to start with as well, because this is one of the more general ones. So this is video gameplay is positively correlated with well-being. This is an amazing comparison. I'm just going to read you this sentence. We surveyed players of Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville and Animal Crossing New Horizons. How I mean, I know Plants vs Zombies is a silly game, but how fun is that? Right. So we'll start with that one today. It's 14 pages, so it probably is going to take me at least the rest of the time we have on stream, if not more. Let me know. There we go. I'll get that open there. And let's just go for it. And then what I might do, I'll see how long this takes me, and I might after this work out what I'm reading for the rest of the week. Maybe it might be that I just like chunk through the Routledge Companion. I think that's probably what I'm gonna do. What is that on, by the way? Let's I know you can't see what I'm opening. I'm sorry about that. That's if you it's... Have they made it available publicly? It's only in the library. I'm just waiting for the page to load. Yeah, what I was about to explain is you might be aware or might not be aware, I don't use desktop capture because of the possibility of doxing myself, or especially where I'm doing research and there's like sensitive information and stuff. I want to know what I'm showing you before I show you it, partly for TOS, but also just for the safety of the people that are here. I don't have access currently. Can I get access by logging in with my uni? Do you purchase blah blah blah? Get access to see if you're in your institution. There we go. Shibboleth or Open Athens, please. Do I have access to this as a PDF? Because that would be amazing. Oh, no, that's not the right password. Additional information required. Oh my god. In the United Kingdom. I don't have access. It made me go through all of that logging in to tell me that I don't have access. That's so annoying. Maybe I might it's from 2014, so it's relatively recent. Actually, that 2014 is 7 years ago. This might be one of those ones where, because I know an ebook exists, it might be a good idea to email to check the other libraries I have access to. So the British Library, the Wellcome Library, my county library, and see if they, because basically my uni doesn't have the ebook version. But I know an ebook version exists, so it's possible I could get the library to acquire the ebook version. So yeah, I'll have a look at that when we're done here, because I think that's a good idea, because it's something I'm definitely going to want, and I'm going to want the whole thing. So I don't want to just request. So something you can do with our library is you can request like a specific chapter to be digitized, and a librarian will literally sit there and scan all of the pages for you. I don't want to make someone do that for 500 pages. They wouldn't agree to do that for 500 pages. So we'll leave that for now. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to take a few minutes of break now rather than in 10 minutes. And then we'll just sit and go through this article, which is from the Royal Society Open Science. So that's quite cool. You can go find it yourself if you want to. In fact, let me copy the URL. Okay, there we go. So I'll drop the link in here. This is the article we're going to be reading. I'll leave that there, and I'm going to take a few minutes break and stand up and move around. You should do the same if you're studying alongside me or just watching. And I'll be back in a few minutes, and we will sit and go through this. All right, I've got to find my Be Right Back screen. every time, it's super awkward. Hello everyone, welcome back. There's a cable in my face. That was me hurriedly setting up our reading setup because I realised I didn't have the second webcam on. But yeah, we're gonna go over to PDF reading. Come on, webcam 2. Why are you not on? I plugged you in. Just a second, folks. Is it because... It's not upset at that, is it? So there's no light coming on. So maybe it's just... the computer isn't recognising it at all. We might just not have this camera today. I don't understand what's happening. I'm so sorry about this. I hate technical problems. I'm just going to try a different USB slot and see if that makes a difference. Anything, computer? Oh, there we go. Hooray! It's so small anyway. I don't know why I was getting that worried about it, having it there, but there we go. Cool. So let's roll this up so you can see the title. And this one is, to my delight, not formatted in columns. So that's pleasing. I now can't. Have I? Oh, it's towards the end of a song. I was like, have I made the music so quiet that I now can't hear it? It's very quiet. Okay. So as always, when I write the title here in my notebook, I'm going to write all of the information that I need to cite it, so that when I put it in... Oh, sorry, this needs to go up a bit. No, you could see the secret webcam. It's not very secret now, I just had to fix it on stream. Yeah, I'm going to put all of the information so that when I go to put it into Zotero, I have everything, and it saves me some time. Video game play is positively correlated with well-being, and this is by okay, and it's in RSOC OpenSci 8 2020-49. Cool. So it's a current one as well, which is even better. Okay, so this is obviously the okay. So I put the, let me drop the link again, in case people want to read along. Here is the link. It is public. which is why we're able to read it on stream. We don't. What was I about to say? I don't know how that sentence was going to end. Let's carry on. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. So, rather than using like user submitted I play for X hours data, they've used actual play data and behavior, because you know basically all games now collect that sort of, also this is sneaking in frame. Speaking in French according to the captions, like games collect all sorts of data now, some of which is hilarious. I don't, if anyone is on the mailing list for Larian Games, and all of the updates they've given about the weird things people have done in Baldur's Gate 3. And they have like percentage breakdowns for it as well. It's something that Life is Strange had as well, and it would, at the end, it would tell you like this percentage of people took this option compared to you, and that sort of thing. And I find it super interesting. I always like, even with Steam achievements and seeing that sort of thing. Obviously with Steam achievements it's a bit skewed because it includes anyone who's ever bought the game. Like I finished a Pillars of Eternity 2 playthrough with the Pranchapi ending and got the achievement for it, and it was like 5.4% of people have this achievement, and I was like, what do you that doesn't sound right to me. But you've got all the people who have bought the game and not played it yet, or the people who never completed it, all of that sort of thing. So it's interesting to have a combination of actual play behavior that isn't skewed like that, and also a survey of Plants vs Zombies and Animal Crossing. Okay, so they merged it with telemetry data. Okay. Contrary to many fears that excessive playtime will lead to addiction and poor mental health, we found a small positive relation between gameplay and effective well-being. Shocking that a thing people do for fun could improve their well-being. Okay, so they're saying that there's two, it's not just the information that they've produced that's significant, but also the methodologies they've used in working with industry partners. That's interesting. Oh, hang on, no, wait, this is from 2020, right? Received 2020, okay, because I was about to say it's no wonder that the games industry's profits were larger than the film industry's in 2020. But no, that's 2019, that makes significantly more sense as to why they would cite it and be like, wow, look, as opposed to clearly people spent more on games because they were at home and the cinemas were closed. Yeah, I think that's an important thing to say as well. They say it's possible games are neutral with respect to health. I think that's as important as them being positive, because even games being neutral in terms of well-being is an argument against like strict regulation of it. Nearly 3 decades of research exploring the possible links between video games and negative outcomes, including aggression, addiction, well-being, and cognitive functioning, have brought us nowhere near a consensus or evidence-based policy. Evidence-based research, that's interesting from a medical humanities point of view. But then I think I need to do more looking into evidence-based research. I know there's questions about it, but I'm not as familiar with like what they are or anything. I know I've read stuff about it, but I can't call it to mind. Also, I'm so sorry that my face keeps changing colour. I think my webcam is having trouble. Right. My eyes are going funny as well. I don't know whether I need it to be... I'm just going to see if I need it to be zoomed. No, I definitely don't need it to be zoomed in. Do I need it to be a different colour? I don't know what's going on with my view. This is night mode. That's not helpful. Oh, that caught me the wrong way. I can have it read aloud to me. I'm considering whether there's something I need. So I do get brain fog with my fibro, and sometimes for me that is that I can't focus on a page. So I wonder what it would be like for you if I have it read aloud. Debate read.
To royalsocietypublishing.org/journal/ASOS OpenSCI.8 202,049 on well-being. Playing games might have worldwide health impacts.
I don't know. Therefore, if I can...
empirically understanding how games might help or harm players is a top priority for all stakeholders. It is possible games are neutral with respect to health, and enacting policies that unnecessarily regulate play would restrict human rights to play and freedom of expression.
I don't think I can handle that. I don't think that's helpful. The problem is I think it would be helpful to have it read to me right now, but I need it to be much better quality than that, because otherwise it's just going to, like, I assume you could hear all of that clearly because it looked like it was coming through in the audio. It's not going to help me, because I'm just going to be there like, why are you pausing like this? Okay. Maybe what I'll do is because I haven't made any notes yet. So let's take a pause and I'll write some notes, and then we'll see if I can get back into it. Because I managed to do this page okay. And failing that, I'll see if there's anything else I can do with the view to make it better for me. Or I can try getting my my glasses and seeing if that helps. They're not prescription glasses, they're the anti-glare, anti-blue light glasses, and see if that helps. Yeah, because I'm just really struggling to, like, everything's in focus, but I can't, it's really hard to explain. I can't fix my eyes on particular points. I'm just like seeing it. It's almost, you know, when you look at something with like a soft focus, so things are in focus but you're not like zoned in on them. It's that sort of thing. It's really frustrating. This will now make you understand why the target of 12 hours a week of reading was quite a lot. Okay, so right. Looking for positive relationship between video games and well-being. Advances field by ethical collaboration with industry partners and evidence for policymakers. Okay. I might actually make a note. This is page 1. I'll make a note that what is that citation? Let's go down and actually do this properly. Go through it slowly, not rushing it. I want a thing on the games industry being higher than... Okay. So, games industry revenue higher than film. And that was in Statista. And that's in an article from that. Okay. The number of people who report playing video games has never been higher. Sorry for scrolling back and forth. That's all Statista. Cool. Awesome. I'm actually interested. I'm just going to open those articles. Oop. Has it opened both? Cool. Oh, okay. You have to pay for access to those statistics. Great. Maybe I can get access through the university. I'll leave them open and that I can come back and look at that later. Does leaning back help? The other option is that I can print it out and see if I find it easier to read that way, and then we can just have it up on the screen for all of you, and then I can look at it. I think that might be a good idea. I'll just run and get my actually, oh no, I know what I can try. Rather than my glasses. Yeah, I just put my night light on, my filter on, and it does help, but it's still not better. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to print this out. And this is something that I do quite often. If this is, I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner, because it's a thing I've done before. To help deal with this. I will mute the microphone whilst the printer is going once I've got all the stuff together. First, I've got to find where the fuck I've put all the paper. Hi, Daniel. Thank you for following. I found paper, as you can see in the little screen. The good news is that the door is closed. So, you know, in The Sims, bear with me. this has a relation. In The Sims 4, animals have a thing in the house, like an appliance or an electronic in the house that they're just terrified of. My cat is like that with the printer. She thinks the printer is evil. It is a vicious monster that is trying to kill her with the paper. I don't know. Yeah, so my cat is nervous of my blow dryer and the Hoover and stuff like that. Printer noise. Actually, it probably won't be too loud when it's printing. I'll just leave the microphone on. If it's a problem, let me know and I can sort that out. Yeah. Oh, it's not coming through at all, actually. It probably will once I speak, but... I think you can hear it a little bit, but not very much. Okay. And as if by magic. Oh, that's so much better. Oh my god, I can actually focus on it. This is another reason that I have trouble with ebooks as well. Fortunately, I've got my laptop is touchscreened and like fully flips around. I don't know what's going on with my hands. So I can sort of simulate it being a real book. And I've got there's a lot of adjustments I can make to the screen with that that might help. But yeah, that's why I often avoid ebook versions as well. I don't know what it is. I don't know what makes it easier on my brain fog, but it does. And obviously the advantage to having it printed is that I can also highlight things and so forth. But yeah, I don't do it with everything. Sometimes I'm fine, and sometimes I really struggle with it. It just depends on the day. But yeah, I can now read this. So let's let's carry on. Yeah. I mean, my head does hurt a bit from trying to focus on it. I find for me that my notes tend to be longer form, so it's not like small annotations. Unless if I'm working with a primary source, that's a bit different, because then I might want to put like you know, highlighting something and saying this is an example of blah. That's not going to take as much time. And in that case, annotation is sometimes better, but certainly for what we're doing at the moment, which is just literature review, it's not as necessary for me. What I do need to do is work out how I'm going to store all of my printouts, because at the moment they're kind of all over the place, hidden in all of those drawers I just pulled out to try and find the paper. Like all of them had articles I'd printed in. But yeah, and it's unfortunate. This is one of the ways in which I try and live as eco-friendly a life as I can, and then needing to print stuff out hurts. But it's an accessibility thing for me. I kind of need to do it. So yeah, it's hard. And it's one of those ways, and I'm having to come and accept. I keep finding more and more of those ways in which like I can't be as eco-friendly. We're looking at to get me back to campus when I'm able to in the distant months when most people have been vaccinated and it's safe. I'm gonna have to get taxis, and that's way worse for the environment than me going on the train. You know, so but I can't get to the train station right now. I'm gonna start working on being able to walk further. I've been thinking about this a lot, but it's a thing I'm gonna, because I don't know what the limits of my body are right now. I'm very, for all that I've had this illness undiagnosed for over 10 years, I'm still learning about it and learning what my limits are and aren't, and I have to try things to learn if they're beyond my limits. So I've got there's a walk I used to do, and I'm just rambling now because I need to refocus so I can study. We live near a bunch of rivers, and there's one of the rivers that I would go down to walk along, and my aim is to get to that river. So yeah, no, I think it's good sometimes, especially when I've been yanked out of studying by something like this, like brain fog or something. It does take a moment to get back into it, and that's totally fine. But yeah, I wanna try and get to down to the river. That's my goal, and then we'll see what the goal is after that. The problem is it's very hilly. It's very, very hilly. I live near a lot of hills, and on a massive hill as well. So basically anywhere I go, the way back is hard. So we'll see. Now I'm just gonna bring this. Oh, sorry. I'm sure you heard that, and I'm sure it wasn't a pleasant noise. Right, let's go. So I got up to I finished this first paragraph on this page. Yeah, because we'd done nearly 3 decades of research, blah blah blah. In recent years, researchers and policymakers have shifted focus from concerns about violent video games and aggression to concerns about the association between the amount or nature of the time people spend playing video games and well-being. Yeah. So this is especially interesting for what I'm looking at, because I think both relate to mental illness. And because obviously you've got the content of the games, but then you've also got the behavior of the players. So this is page 2, and it describes move from thanks, Jay. I know that's a copy paste, but it's kind of a nice copy paste. Like of the as just chatting spam goes, that's pretty good. So this describes the move from focus on violence. Yeah, more positivity trolls, please. Discuss the moves and focus on violence in games to well-being of players. Instead of measuring such behavior directly, researchers relied on self-reported engagement. Historically, this methodological decision has been taken on practical grounds. Firstly, self-report is a relatively easy way to collect data about play. Second, the video games industry has in the past hesitated to work with independent scientists. Gosh, I wonder why. I wonder why that could be. I don't know if it's anything to do with the years of research into how violence in video games supposedly causes violence. Spoiler, it doesn't. As time has gone on, it's become increasingly clear that defaulting to self-report is not tenable. Recent evidence suggests self-reports of digital behaviours are notoriously imprecise and biased, which limits the conclusions we can draw from research on time spent on video games and well-being. Okay, I want to look at the citations for this. So this is 8 and 9. Okay, that first one looks good. Oh well, that's 2020 as well. Measurement discrepancies between logged and self-reported digital media use, a systematic review and meta-analysis. Right, I've just opened that for me to go to afterwards as well, and probably add to my reading list, I suspect. Okay, so this is so page 2, reference on lack of reliability and self-reporting. Cool. Yeah, this represents a formidable shortcoming that deprives health policymakers of the high-quality evidence they require to make informed decisions on possible regulations to the video games industry. There is a need for directly measured video game behaviour to inform policymakers. Researchers must collaborate in a transparent and credible way with industry data scientists who can record objective measures of video game engagement. In this paper, this is so cool, this paper. We detail such a collaboration and report our investigation of the relation between the actual time people devote to playing a game and their subjective sense of well-being. So I like that they've still used both forms, that they are both they've done, basically this has a qualitative and a quantitative dimension to it, in that they've got these interviews with people for the qualitative and then but added it to the quantitative side, which I think is better. I think if you deprive, especially when it's related to individual behaviour, I'm always skeptical of anything that doesn't have a qualitative element. Because the whys and hows of what people do is as important as the what, I think. Alright, here we go. I'll scroll this up because I'm now at this bit. Globally speaking, the most contentious debates surrounding the potential effects of video game engagement are focused on the mental health of players. Oh, are they? Wow, you could write an entire thesis about that. Oh no, this is still page 2. I'm just going to write that entire quote down, because I can see myself wanting to quote that. Oh, it mentions the DSM. Is it time for the DSM rant again? It might be. Okay. For example, the American Psychiatric Association did not identify any psychiatric conditions related to video games in the DSM-5, but it does recommend internet gaming disorder as a topic for further research. The World Health Organization adopted a more definitive approach and included gaming disorder in the International Classification of Diseases, emphasizing excessive playtime as a necessary component. In sharp contrast, the US Food and Drug Administration recently approved the use of a video game in treating ADHD. Okay. Here's the thing, and this is the reason that the reason that I hate the DSM is the same reason that the World Health Organization has included gaming disorder as a disease. We as humans really like categorizing things. That's fine. I'm not arguing against that. We are always going to like categorizing things. What this has become in medicine as a whole is a really strong focus on diagnostic labels. We like solutions. We like to be able to say, this person has this illness. That's something that is true across physical illness as well as mental illness, and illnesses that cross over between the two. The thing is, the way the DSM has, and I don't think labels are inherently bad. I think it is a positive thing, for example, for me to be able to say that I have fibromyalgia and to find information on my illness from other people who have fibromyalgia. It's been really powerful for me to know that there is a reason and a name for all of the pain I've been experiencing. I'm not saying that labels don't have a positive effect in certain circumstances. I think labels can be used negatively, but I think they can also have a really positive effect. The DSM is not about labeling things anymore, or it's taken it too far. I think that's the better way to put it. In the DSM, so anyone who's not familiar with the DSM is from America, but it's globally recognized. What decisions made in the editions of the DSM have a very strong effect on policy, not just in the US, but across the world. Other countries take example from it. And let's say that you have been experiencing some mental illness symptoms. You have been dissociating, and you have been experiencing panic attacks, and you have, what's another one? You've had low motivation. These are all things that are like commonly known symptoms of mental illness. You want to know what's wrong with you, so you go to the DSM. With those 3 symptoms, you're going to look at the DSM and find that you have about 10 different disorders. The reason for this is there's so much overlap in mental illness. With dissociation, panic attacks, and low motivation, you could have anxiety, you could have PTSD, you could have complex PTSD, you could have all sorts of different things. You could have OCD, you could have all sorts of different things. You could have depression, you could have one of 20 different anxiety disorders. And what the one you end up with will be based on how you explain what you're experiencing to the person that diagnoses you. So on the day that you go into the psychiatrist's office, let's say you had a super bad panic attack the day before. You're going to focus on your panic attacks when you're talking to them. It might be that the thing that actually troubles you more is the dissociation or the lack of motivation. But if you go in there and are like, I'm really struggling with panic attacks, you're going to come out with a diagnosis of panic disorder, when maybe actually the bigger problem is one of your other symptoms. It also might change over time. And you can see that this weakness happens because so many things are diagnosed comorbidly, which means you get diagnosed with multiple things at once. For example, I was diagnosed when I first became ill with social anxiety disorder and clinical depression, or major depression, or severe depression, or whatever they were calling it that week. Depression that is not episodic. For a long time, those labels were helpful to me until I started to realise that the labels inform the treatment that you get, right? And the medications that you're given and things like that. And I started to discover a decade later that the things that worked for me were treatments for PTSD. Now, I've not been re-diagnosed and diagnosed as having complex PTSD, but that is what I probably believe I'm closer to. But I don't find that labels in that, you'll hear me say trauma-based mental illness as what I have as my mental illness now. Because to me, the important thing is what symptoms I experience, recognising which of those are more severe or more troubling to me than others, and working on those things. Now, it's hard because obviously we do need, like, labels have a purpose, but why the fuck can't you say anxiety disorder? Why do you have to go into like the multiple versions of it? And why do we have to continually make up these really niche diagnoses? Some ones that get added on it's a good thing. OCD got separated from anxiety disorders, and I think that's a good thing because OCD is very different to a normal anxiety disorder, and there are things you can see. There are definite differences. I'm not saying that there's a complete homogeneity of mental illness either. But I think the extent to which the DSM tries to categorise everything is a massive weakness because there's so much crossover. I think there's too much crossover. It's not so much that the idea of having mental illness labels is a problem at all. It's the way they've done it. This is why you get things... the next problem, things like internet gaming disorder. I guarantee you that anyone who has ever been told they have internet gaming disorder or a gaming addiction or something like that, a different problem is causing it. They didn't become addicted to games just in and of itself. That didn't happen. They had a bereavement or some kind of trauma, or a bad economic situation, or they were laid off, or any, like, the scale of those things obviously is very different. Something like that caused the person to find gaming to be something they needed to replace their life outside gaming. That's the problem. I spent too much time playing games a few years ago. I was doing that because I was depressed. It wasn't because I was addicted to games. It's a coping mechanism. It's not a disorder unto itself. And like all coping mechanisms, yes, you can do it to a problematic degree, but you can also retrain how you use your coping mechanisms. One of my coping mechanisms is to escape situations I'm in by any means possible, and that's a good defense mechanism to have in certain situations. The best thing to do is to get yourself the fuck out of there, but not like to the extent that I do it, which is, someone says something vaguely neutral towards me and I run away. It's not it's not to the level that I do it, and that's something that I'm having to retrain and get better at pulling back. So yeah, that's the problem, is that these additional classifications mask other problems. Part of the problem is also that we cannot conceive of the fact in a lot of psychiatry that many of the reasons that people are ill are social, cultural, financial, racial. Just to be clear, given recent topics, if someone says they've experienced suicidal ideation, you fucking believe them. You don't say you don't think it's likely, you believe them. If they are lying, nothing bad has happened. If they're not lying and you don't believe them, you might have just killed them. So you believe people who say they have suicidal ideation. Just to be clear on that one. Yeah. Anyway, that was the DSM rant. Fuck the DSM. Because it means that people don't get the help that they need, which is the opposite of what it was created to do. I'm glad you enjoyed it. If that is a perspective that you are interested in academically, I recommend looking up MAD studies. It is a field of disability studies or of mental illness studies that specifically counters the DSM, focuses on the idea that people who experience mental illness do not necessarily require fixing. Just MAD, M-A-D. MAD is a term that they are reclaiming in sort of a similar way to reclaiming the word queer or things like that. And they want to sort of stress that people with mental illness are not half people. We are not incomplete people, broken people, inferior people, monstrous people, and want to put the emphasis not on fixing us or curing us, but on improving our life situation and our well-being and our existence, which may mean accepting that certain symptoms are a fundamental part of our life. There is an amazing TED talk on voice hearing. I'm gonna find this and link it because yeah, because it's just so good. Yeah, so I really recommend this. So she's not a MAD study scholar or anything specifically that I'm aware of, but it's an amazing example of living with a symptom rather than spending all of your effort trying to fix it or cure it. Yeah, so it's not something I'd encountered until last year either. I fell into it kind of accidentally in that I picked a book up off the library shelf and found that I was reading a book influenced by MAD studies. So it's super cool. It relates very strongly to a lot of the disability studies movement, which has that common thread of, you know, a part of what we need to do is not just find a solution to our illnesses and our disabilities, but also accept that this is who we are. There are many things that are... Thanks, Matt. There are many things that are incurable. My fibromyalgia is incurable. That doesn't mean the severity of my illness can't change. I look forward to being able to walk without a walking stick again, and to be able to walk for more than 5 minutes without agony. But you know, it's not something that's ever going to weigh. It's something I'm always going to have to manage. So, and that isn't helped by a world that wants me to constantly, you know, be working to cure myself, while simultaneously in the benefit system proving that I'm sufficiently disabled to be supported. We've deviated wildly from this article about video game behaviour. I'm going to keep reading and see how much more I can get done. We've got 20 minutes left. It's really interesting that the FDA approved a video game for ADHD though. That's super cool. Yeah. Experts have argued that there's insufficient evidence that gaming disorder definitions and diagnostic tools meet clinical standards. Yeah, almost as if the benefit system was designed to stop people getting benefits. That doesn't sound right. No. Don't. This is just going to be a rant stream where I rant about the DSM and then I rant about the benefit system. We're not. I've got a benefits review coming up, so that the benefit system rant is a bit too close to my current anxieties. Where am I? Okay, so this is like one of the problems with characterizing excessive use as part of gaming addiction, is that researchers exclusively operationalize excessive use by way of self-reported estimates, which they've already said is not reliable. So this is page 2 still. Gaming addiction. Based on self-reported info. Yeah. Self-reported video gameplay is thus an unsuitable proxy of actual video gameplay, yet researchers and those advising health bodies are depending on self-reports for diagnosis and policy decisions. Cool. Yeah. There have been calls for more direct measures of video game behaviour, but stalled because scientists don't have the resources or access to data necessary. For example, on the issue of social media use and well-being, a UK Parliament Select Committee, there you go, called on social media companies to make anonymised high-level data available for research purposes. And then another committee said aggregated player data, but there haven't been any. It's almost like people might get upset if all of their statistics were given to the government. Collaboration with industry partners not only has the promise to make objective player behaviours accessible for independent analysis, it also provides an opportunity to address a related problem which has plagued game research for decades, a lack of transparency and rigour. Oh, okay, that's a whole other problem. So let's first of all finish noting. So then demands made for anonymised public data have not been fulfilled. Okay, so then we've got this other problem. What are you watching? You are watching me do a PhD. I am doing a PhD in illness narratives, which is stories of illness, specifically mental illness, and how they are conveyed through different interactive media. So what we're looking at right now is video games and how video games show you what it's like to live with mental illness. Currently, we are reading an article on the behaviour of people playing video games and how many hours they play video games for and what impact it has on their well-being. Yeah, that's it. That's what you're watching. Yeah, so then thanks for following, Izzy. Lack of transparency and rigour. And this is page 3. Oh, I've just smudged that everywhere. So what does it mean like that? Much research in the quantitative social sciences does not share data for others to independently verify and extend findings. Sharing resources and data contributes to a more robust knowledge base, gives you a better opportunity to judge the credibility. No, you're very welcome to interrupt me. If you have questions, then please ask. So part of the reason that I do this is that it really helps me to answer questions and discuss my research, because it means that I process it better. Any time you have to explain, there's that thing of, if you're having trouble, go and explain the problem to someone else and you'll find that you've answered yourself in the explanation. It's also something that, so when I was looking at starting a PhD, I didn't find many people vlogging about PhDs, or specifically here in the UK, because PhDs work differently in different countries. And I definitely didn't find many people who were disabled and doing a PhD, let alone disabled and doing a PhD about illness. And a PhD is very different depending on what field you're in, as well as what country you're in. It's different based on what institution you're at. Thank you. I'm getting all the posture checks today. Do I look like I'm sitting badly? And yeah, and I think that's something that's really important, is showing people that you can still do a PhD if you're chronically ill or disabled. Not always, it's not always possible, and it's very hard. But I want to show people that there's someone out there doing it, and that it's worth a try to see if you're able to do it. Yeah, so you're very welcome to ask me questions at any point, and don't think it's gonna interrupt me at all. I mean, it's going to interrupt me, but I consider it a positive and beneficial interruption. So sharing data, then and the sharing data is to judge credibility and improve knowledge base. And then prevents selective reporting, which is a huge problem in quantitative, I hate these words, quantitative research. Oh, cool. Yeah, so there was research done into that showing that this is a really common thing in technology and video games research, which is reference 35. I'll pull that up in a second. I just want to make sure I've got all this written down. Yeah. Cool. So that's 35 and 19. I'll come down to here. Oh, cool. So this one is not a link. Oh, it is a link. It is a link. I'm just not seeing it. So I'm just going to open that one and open that one. For anyone who is new coming in, I don't use desktop display, so when I'm opening things, you're just seeing my PDF reader. So when I open things, you're not going to see that I'm opening them. What I've basically done is all the references from this, I've opened a very large number of tabs, and after this I will go through all of those, move them into my reading list if they're things I need to go away and read, or like make notes on the reference properly afterwards. Normally I would do that as I was going along, but in this instance it's fairer to you for me to not sit there doing a load of stuff that you can't see. I'm also looking down because, as you might see here in the top right, I'm reading from a text page. That's because earlier I was experiencing some brain fog whilst looking at the screen, which in this instance, it's a symptom from my fibromyalgia. It's also often called fibro fog. And in this instance, printing out and looking at the printed copy has meant that I'm able to focus, because I was just having trouble focusing my vision on it. Not in a blurred vision sense, but in the sense of I just can't quite focus, can't quite zone in on what it is I'm reading. And it's completely fixed it by moving to printed copy. Yeah, so this is saying that you have an obligation to work transparently, especially when collaborating with industry, because they're not going to want to collaborate with you if you're not transparent about what you're doing. Okay. We've made it to 1.1.2. Oh no, I put us on the wrong screen. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to move the PDF along with me. So this is an interesting sentence. Mental health comprises both negative mental health, e.g. depression, and positive mental health. So if you've been listening or if you've been here a while, you might know or have noticed that I'm very specific to say mental illness. So the reason I'd say that is that I believe I prefer to take the perspective that everyone has mental health, but not everyone has mental illness. So for me, that's the separation. And that means that we don't need this sentence. Because this sentence is ableist because it says negative mental health. So what you're saying is that I, as a person who experiences depression, am bad, and other people are good. You get stuck in these traps where and obviously there's problems with saying illness as well. There are people who don't like being referred to as mentally ill and prefer person with mental illness. It's one of the few instances where I've seen person first language be preferred. I personally prefer disabled person, not person with disabilities. And I think you'll find a lot of disabled people will hate person first language. But it is a personal thing. So if you ever, and I don't mind mentally ill or person with mental illness. I'm neutral on either of those. But that's going to be different for each person. So it might be worth asking if you have people in your life that you know, how they prefer to be referred to if it ever comes up. Because it is a significant thing for a lot of people that people have a lot of strong feelings about. And this is kind of going over things they said earlier now, is talking about the bias inherent in self-reported data. Especially interesting is that some of it's not self-reported but reported by parents. That's got to be even worse, right? Because if your child is playing video games in their room and you were to count all of the time they spend in their room, that's going to be very different to the amount of time they spend in there playing video games, right? Yeah, our scientific understanding of video games effects is limited by our measures. The true association could be positive or negative, small or large, irrelevant or significant. I think... Hi again, Izzy. Yeah, we've got like 4 minutes left, so I'm gonna get to the end of this next bit. Okay, so some places have combined server logs with survey data. This is page 3, right? But not on well-being. A decade of research indicates perceptions of the psychological affordances provided by games are important to player experiences in games. According to self-determination theory, any activity whose affordances align with the motivations of people will contribute to their well-being. That sounds important. What is that? 50. Okay, that seems interesting. Oh. This DOI cannot be found. That's helpful. Oh, it's because it goes over, Oh no, it was the whole thing. .55.1.68. Okay, so I'm going to have to look that one up separately, so I'm going to write that one down. So that's... It's in American Psychology. Okay. And that's from 2000. Cool. Right, we're getting there. I want to end on time. I'm not going to end on time. I've got 2 minutes left. Cool. Okay, I think I'll end at the bottom of that page. Thank you, Daniel. Because I can see that there's stuff I'm gonna want, like all this stuff about satisfying basic needs and psychological functioning. I'm gonna be interested in. So we'll leave it at that page. And what will happen? Hold on, if I just move us back to. Thank you, Maria. If I move us back to here. What I will do now is I will take a lunch break. And then I've got a mindfulness session, but then this afternoon I'll finish going through that article. I'll go through all of these extra things. I'll find out how I can get that Routledge book, and I'll do those emails I need to do. And then I've got a lecture I'm going to, the lecture on language and comics later on. But yeah, then tomorrow I'll do other studying. I've got mentoring tomorrow as well. And we'll be back on Friday for the stream. On Friday, we will be playing a game. I understand they do that here on Twitch. We will be playing a game. We will be playing Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. I will be making sure I've got full content warnings for everyone. Both for this game and for any other game I play. Yeah, exactly. We're going to be playing it differently to the way a lot of people would play a game, because we're constantly going to be pausing to write down observations about it, which is, or I'm going to be trying to make myself do that anyway. So if you are someone who has different triggers, don't worry, I'll make sure they're all available, and we'll have some, I'll make sure they're like being fed into the chat repeatedly through the stream, so if you come late, it's not a problem and it'll be in there. But for now, thank you all so much for coming. It's been lovely to have so many of you here, and new people talking and following, and thank you for that. And I hope you have a lovely rest of your day and a lovely Thursday, and I will see you all again on Friday morning. So take care of yourselves, and thank you very much for coming. Bye.